My husband used a burner account on Twitter to ask for help. My wife's postpartum weight gain is so extreme, I'm disgusted just looking at her. What should I do? That very night, I hung a banner outside his office building that read, "I never called you a loser, so how dare you complain about my weight? Fat can be lost, but can a loser change?" Waking up in the middle of the night to feed our child, I accidentally glimpsed Marcus's phone flashing nonstop. I picked it up to turn it off for him, but inadvertently stumbled upon his Twitter burner account. He had posted a plea to netizens, "Help. My wife got so fat after giving birth. I'm repulsed by her. What should I do?" Some netizens countered him, "Your wife worked so hard to give birth to your child, and you dare to scorn her? Did a dog eat your conscience?" He shamelessly replied to that netizen, "I'm a man of flesh and blood, isn't it normal to have needs?" My blood instantly froze. My hand trembled, clutching the phone, and I even struggled to catch my breath. 2 years of dating, 3 years of marriage. 5 years. And I hadn't realized the person sleeping next to me was such a beast. Just 2 months postpartum, my body still hadn't fully recovered, yet he showed no concern for my health, offered no help with the child, and only thought about a man's needs. I was so furious that a cold sweat broke out all over me. I longed to smash the phone against his face, to grab him and demand an explanation. But remembering his various unusual behaviors since I got pregnant, I gritted my teeth and held back. He definitely wasn't just talking online. Waking him now to cause a huge scene wouldn't solve anything, it would only tip him off. In that moment, I suddenly became remarkably calm. If he truly had wronged me, I wouldn't stay with him for another minute. So, I had to find out everything now. Clutching his phone, I crept into the bathroom. Sitting on the toilet, my trembling hands rapidly scrolled through his social media apps. Perhaps because I never checked his phone, he brazenly kept all his flirtatious messages with female netizens. Words like honey, darling, baby, and certain anatomical terms filled the screen. It was a complete contrast to his usual refined and courteous persona. In college, I chose him out of many suitors precisely because, despite his modest family background, he was confident, polite, and unlike those materialistic guys. But now, I realized how terribly wrong I had been. His graceful demeanor, his scholarly air, all of it was fake. Behind my back, he was utterly disgusting. Besides that, there were numerous money transfers and transaction records. Facing these substantial sums of money, I couldn't hold it in any longer. Damn it all. These were all earned by my hard work, day and night. With his meager salary, he could barely afford a few meals, let alone transfer money to Chloe. He'd go broke. It was all my fault for trusting him too much. One day, a relative from his parents' place was seriously ill and needed money. The next, a friend had an accident and needed help. Every time he asked for money, I handed it over without a second thought. That's how I gave him the capital to philander around. My chest heaved violently as I suppressed my seething rage, taking photos of each piece of evidence, saving them, and even noting down the women's contact information to prepare for my retaliation. Everything done, I left the bathroom and secretly slipped the phone under his pillow. Having not slept a wink, I was in terrible shape. Eleanor, however, was wailing hysterically in the living room early in the morning, claiming she had no breakfast, had low blood sugar, and needed an ambulance to the hospital. Woken from his pleasant dream, Marcus, with his morning grumpiness, kicked me. "Why don't you get Eleanor something to eat? She's so old, are you trying to starve her to death?" 2 months postpartum, when I still needed care myself, he expected me to be a caregiver? My shattered heart felt utterly crushed at that moment. But I had no time for sorrow. Lily was startled by Marcus's impatient curses and began wailing loudly, trembling. I quickly picked her up from the bed, gently comforting her. "Lily, be good, don't cry. Mommy will feed you." As I spoke, the bad-tempered Marcus leaped out of bed. He walked out, muttering curses impatiently. "Cry, cry, cry. All you do is cry." Wailing first thing in the morning. "She's crying away all the good fortune in this house." Eleanor immediately chimed in, sarcastic as ever. She even added, "If you ask me, you should send the child to your parents. You should recover and have another one quickly." She wanted a grandson. From the moment Lily was born, she had been constantly nagging about it. But she didn't know that her son was infertile, and even Lily was conceived through artificial insemination. Out of consideration for Marcus's male ego, I had never mentioned this to anyone. Even to Eleanor, Marcus's own mother, I kept it a complete secret. Yet she kept walking all over me, picking fights. Out of respect for her as an elder, and to avoid making things difficult for Marcus, I had always held back from any conflict with her. But now, I was planning to kick her son out. Why would I care about her? Still, I wasn't in a rush to openly confront her, because I still needed to gather more evidence of Marcus's infidelity. I wanted him to know that Grace wasn't someone to be easily bullied. I wanted him to pay the price and suffer public disgrace and ruin. Using the excuse of giving my husband a better rest and letting my parents adapt to helping with the child, I decided to take Lily back to my parents' place for a while. Eleanor was absolutely thrilled to hear this. That's right. A little girl like Lily won't amount to anything even when she grows up. Having a son quickly to carry on the family name for the Dew family is what really matters. Her mouth was so foul. I wanted to shove my daughter's diaper into it. She kept saying a little girl like Lily was useless, but why didn't she consider that she herself was a woman? Was she despising my daughter, or hating herself? The thought alone made me feel pitiful for her. But I didn't have time to argue with an idiot. Suppressing my raging fury, I secretly did something big before leaving home. When I took my daughter back to my parents' place, they were overjoyed, practically dancing with joy. We've wanted you and your daughter to stay for a while, but we were afraid Eleanor wouldn't want to part with Lily, so we never dared to suggest it. Eleanor wouldn't want to part with Lily? That was an absolute joke. But she was so good at pretending and acting. Every time my parents visited, she put on such a gentle, kind, and loving facade. As soon as my parents left, she immediately started nagging in my ear about having a son. As netizens would say, it was like they had a royal throne to inherit. Why didn't she take a good look in the mirror? With her son's character, even if he could have a child, could he afford to raise it? If I hadn't been working my butt off all these years, with just his meager salary, let alone raising a child, she'd go broke too. But I didn't want my parents to know about these nasty affairs. They had worried enough about me since childhood. Now that I was a mother myself, it was time for me to solve my own problems. With my parents helping to look after Lily, I closed the front door of the bedroom and secretly opened the phone's security footage. Yes. Before leaving home, I had installed a hidden camera. I wanted to see just how many unknown sides this mother and son duo had. And the result? It was startling. On the security footage, Eleanor had her legs propped up on the coffee table, watching TV and spitting out sunflower seed shells. She was also grumbling to Marcus. Oh my! They finally left. Otherwise, I'd have to take care of her every day. You didn't marry a wife, you married a royal pain. If I hadn't known her family was wealthy and she was an only daughter, meaning all her family's money, property, and cars would eventually be yours, I would never have agreed to this marriage. She's spoiled, not at all like our rural girls. So, from the very beginning, their whole family had been plotting against my family's assets. My hand holding the phone trembled slightly, and a cold sweat ran down my spine. Thankfully, I found out. If I hadn't discovered this, and had remained foolishly in the dark, wouldn't my family's fortune have been swindled away by the Dew family after my parents passed away? In that moment, I truly understood what unfathomable human nature meant. But's next words made me truly grasp the depth of human evil. She actually said, "Son, Eleanor heard there's a kind of medicine now that can make women compliant. Find out how much it costs and buy some. I'll pay for it." Marcus, who had been engrossed in phone flirting and not paying attention to his mother's nagging, whipped his head around at these words. What? His wide eyes were filled with shock. Eleanor raised her hand and hit Marcus. You rascal, what are you thinking? I meant you should buy it for your wife to take, so she can quickly give me a healthy grandson. She really went to great lengths to make me have a child. This cheapskate, usually so tight-fisted, was now offering to pay for it herself, all for a grandson. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Marcus frowned, an impatient expression on his face, even full of disdain. She's not the only one who can bear me children, is she? With her current flabby state, I don't even want to touch her. She's utterly repulsive. Eleanor's eyes lit up with excitement at these words. Son, are you saying there are young girls at your office chasing you? Marcus raised an eyebrow. Smugly. Plenty. Eleanor clapped her hands excitedly. Oh, I knew my son was capable and charming. Quickly tell Eleanor, how many like you? How pretty are they, and what's their family background like? How about this? While is away, bring them over for Eleanor to meet. Eleanor can help you choose one who can give birth to a son. Wow! He was practically screening for a new wife. Even hearing it with my own ears, I was utterly shocked. What astonishing values. And I had lived with someone with such appalling values for 3 years. I was truly blinded and foolish. Thankfully, justice was served, allowing me to see through their true colors in time. I wouldn't be letting them off easy. I'd prefer widowhood to divorce. Marcus shamelessly brought one of the young girls home. From the security footage, she was typically petite and youthful, the kind that instantly stirs a man's protective instincts. In contrast, it was no wonder he found me fat. That girl's waist might have been smaller than my thigh. Marcus acted as if he and the girl were conjoined twins, but wasn't satisfied with this girl. Her disdain was visibly apparent. She dragged Marcus to the bedroom and immediately launched into a scathing scolding. Skinny as a rail, how could she be cut out for bearing sons? No, absolutely not. Marcus was nonchalant. How do we know without trying? With that, he impatiently rushed out to find his little darling, not giving Eleanor a chance to voice her opinion further. Eleanor stamped her feet in frustration. By the time she followed him to the living room, Marcus had already eagerly pulled Chloe into our bedroom. The scene was too disturbing to watch, so I didn't continue. Lying quietly on the bed, my heart was calm. That was our marital bed, yet he was sleeping with another woman. Nothing is sadder than a broken spirit. That must be how I felt now. Chloe actually ended up staying at our house. She stayed up all night and slept all day. All her meals were takeout, and all her clothes were dry cleaning. She spent money like water. Eleanor, accustomed to being frugal, naturally couldn't stand such wasteful behavior. Initially, she had planned to set rules for Chloe, expecting her to show respect and help around the house. But after a few days, Chloe not only didn't take care of her, she didn't even give her a polite attitude. Eleanor stewed for 3 days. Finally, she couldn't take it anymore. She mustered the fierce determination she usually used to scold me and knocked on the master bedroom's front door. What time is it and you're still sleeping? Can't you act like a young person? But the headstrong Chloe wasn't one to be messed with. She threw a throw pillow directly at Eleanor's face. You're so loud. Are you going to let me sleep or not? Eleanor was hit by the throw pillow, stumbled, and almost fell. Her face turned purple with rage, and her eyes were wide with fury. She started wailing, yelling that she would call her son to complain. Chloe was no pushover. She walked out of the bedroom, her curly hair messy. Hey, madam, don't just lecture me, educate your son too. If he didn't keep me up all night, why would I be unable to get up during the day? Eleanor choked, her hand poised to dial, pausing slightly. Chloe, with her slender and alluring figure, leaned languidly against the doorframe, smiling sweetly at her. Your son said he wants me to quickly give him a healthy boy. The words healthy boy were like a switch. They instantly triggered a nerve in Eleanor, and her extreme attitude gradually softened. Fawning, she forced a smile. I was just worried about you, seeing you not getting up to eat at this late hour. Her change of expression was astonishingly rapid. Chloe was no easy target either. She bluntly stated, if you really care about me, tell your son to divorce that Grace quickly. Otherwise, what kind of situation is this, me living here without status or recognition? Don't let us have a child before we're married, people will laugh at us. She was already a mistress, breaking up someone else's family, yet she was afraid of being laughed at? How ridiculous! I scoffed, but Eleanor was brainwashed by her words. Don't worry, Chloe. When comes home from work, I'll tell him to dump that Grace as soon as possible. Chloe was happy now. She raised an eyebrow with interest. That's more like it. I had had someone secretly investigate. Chloe had only recently graduated from college, hadn't found a job, and only wanted to marry a rich man and live a life of luxury. She hooked up with Marcus because she saw him driving a luxury car, wearing a designer watch, and dressing well. She thought he was some wealthy big boss and latched onto him. Little did she know, Marcus was just a regular clerk in a government office. Forget luxury cars and designer watches. His meager salary wasn't even enough to cover monthly gas expenses. The car was bought by my parents, and the designer watch was my birthday gift to him. All his expensive outfits were bought with my money. He claimed, "I can't be looked down upon by other colleagues at the office." At the time, hearing that, I felt quite sorry for him. He lost his father young, and his mother raised him alone. It was indeed quite difficult. Caring about what others thought might have been a psychological trauma from childhood, so it seemed perfectly normal for him to try to maintain appearances with these external things. Little did I know, pretending to be afraid of being looked down upon was fake. Hooking up with young girls was his true intention. Besides, there were over a dozen others he had inappropriate relationships with. Among them was even seeing that familiar name on the list. I was utterly stunned. Before I could recover from the shock, Marcus came home from work. After entering the house, Eleanor immediately dragged him to the bedroom and brought up the divorce. Marcus's reaction, however, was, "Eleanor, are you stupid? We haven't gotten our hands on Grace's family's money yet. If I divorce Grace now, I'll go broke. Besides, Chloe isn't even pregnant yet, is she? Even if she gets pregnant, I still have to confirm the child's gender before I can marry her. What if she also gives birth to a little girl?" So, deep down, he cared so much about the child's gender too. Before, he acted like a doting father with me. Utterly disgusting. The more I knew, the more horrified I became. It truly echoed what countless netizens said: without experiencing certain things, you never know if the person sleeping next to you is human or a monster. And I was extremely grateful that I saw through their true colors in time. Even more fortunate that I had installed a camera at home and knew Marcus's scheme in advance. Otherwise, my fate, and even my family's, could have been to be tricked out of every last cent and end up out on the street. Marcus came to my parents' place, carrying bags and packages, under the pretense of visiting me and our daughter. My parents, unaware of his disgusting deeds, treated him as warmly as always. Margaret cooked a meal herself, and Henry brought out his prized liquor, entertaining him warmly. He, in turn, was as humble and respectful to my parents as before. Towards me and our daughter, he was still thoughtful and gentle. If I hadn't seen through his true colors, I would have been utterly moved by his meticulous care. But now, it only made me feel disgusted. And even more, fear. How strong his mental fortitude must be to deceive me and my parents without showing any trace of acting. But soon, he eagerly revealed his true intention for coming today at the dinner table. "A friend wants to get me into some investments. I'd like to borrow some money from you too. I can write an IOU, and as soon as the investment returns come back, I'll pay you back immediately." He usually disguised himself so well, my parents trusted him implicitly. Hearing he wanted to start a venture, the old couple approved wholeheartedly. "What's this about borrowing? Don't be too formal. Grace is our only daughter. What's ours is yours. Just tell us how much you need, and we'll transfer it to you tomorrow." Marcus's lips curled into a slight smirk. He couldn't hide his joy. He was clearly overjoyed. Then he tentatively gave a number. 2 million. 2 million? Henry was stunned. That amount wasn't significant for our family, but for Marcus, who had never invested before, investing 2 million all at once seemed too risky to Henry. Out of concern for him, Henry earnestly offered a few more words of advice, but took it as my parents being unwilling to lend him money and looking down on him. At my parents' place, he was like a hypocrite, constantly saying, "Dad's so thoughtful." As soon as he got home, he immediately started cursing and yelling at Eleanor. "Henry, that old man, wouldn't even give me 2 million. When he dies, all his money will be mine. Damn it all, I really hope he drops dead tomorrow." Hearing those words, a chill ran down my spine, and I felt cold all over. It wasn't me thinking the worst, it was their evil, the evil of this mother and son, that had far exceeded the limits of human decency. Their actions were worse than animals. They forced me to be on guard. Sure enough, my fears finally came true. Borrowing money no longer satisfied Marcus's ambition, and his mistresses couldn't be appeased with just a few hundred or a few thousand in money transfers. So, he decided to turn his angry words into reality. That way, he could permanently possess all of my family's assets. Under the pretense of letting me and my parents relax, he arranged an island getaway for us. Combined with a movie that had recently been released, I had a bad feeling. This scumbag wouldn't be trying to create the illusion that we accidentally drowned, would he? My parents, completely unsuspecting of him, were pleased and excited about his meticulously planned trip. After learning the travel dates, they happily began to prepare. But I was filled with dread, unable to eat or sleep. Once we left, no one knew what might happen. I absolutely could not, and would not allow my parents to take this risk. So, the day before we left, I stealthily swapped the video of Marcus and Chloe sleeping together at home into his work report. Marcus took this work report extremely seriously, as it was crucial for his promotion. He revised the presentation slides repeatedly, working on it for several nights. Chloe felt neglected because of this and threw a tantrum at him. But this very thing he took so seriously went wrong on the day of the meeting. When the presentation slides were opened, before everyone in the government office, what appeared instead were suggestive and enticing sounds and steamy images. The extent of it was jaw-dropping. Marcus realized what was happening and frantically tried to close it, but it was too late. Everyone present saw it clearly. There was no denying it. News of his infidelity quickly reached my ears through his female colleagues at the office. I feigned shock. Impossible! Mai would never do anything to wrong me. You must have seen wrong, it couldn't have been him. Seeing me so deluded, my female colleagues, frustrated by my denial, forwarded the scandalous video to me. Grace, you really should see for yourself. I was devastated. They had even screen recorded it. Girls Help Girls was truly more than just talk. Of course, there were also those who loved to watch a good drama, who directly uploaded the video online. Overnight, not only did I, the original wife, find out, but everyone across the country was offended by the sight. Some skilled online detectives even dug up everything about him and Chloe overnight. All sorts of details about them checking into hotels, going shopping, and watching movies were revealed. It was a complete public humiliation. While thrilled and excited, I couldn't help but worry about my parents. In their minds, Marcus had always been the brilliant image of a good son-in-law. Now, his infidelity was suddenly exposed, and the scandalous video was even filmed in our marital home. Henry's blood pressure soared from anger, and Margaret even blacked out, almost fainting. If I hadn't prepared in advance and called Dr. Emily, my medical professional friend, to our house, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Henry took his blood pressure medication, and Margaret swallowed her heart medication. The old couple took a long time to recover before they gradually composed themselves. The first words they spoke were, "Grace, don't be sad. He's not worth it." Sobbing, I was truly on the verge of tears. Always, those who love us are our parents. They were in such a state themselves, yet they were still worried I might do something irrational and anything bad happened to me. I rushed over, hugged them tightly, sobbing uncontrollably. Ever since I discovered Marcus's nasty business, I had been holding it all together by myself. Now that I finally found an outlet, my tears flowed like a bursting dam. I couldn't stop them at all. My parents knew I was hurting inside and gently patted my back. Cry. Crying it out will make you feel better. But I didn't tell them that I already knew, and that I had planned everything. I was afraid that if they knew the full truth, they would be rushed to the hospital in anger. It wouldn't be right for that scumbag. But none of us expected Marcus to have the nerve to come to our house. Marcus came in and knelt before me. "Honey, I was wrong. I was seduced by that Chloe. I was momentarily led astray. Please forgive me this time. I'll never do it again. Please, for our child's sake, give me another chance, okay?" My face cold, I said nothing. My parents, however, grabbed things and hurled them at him. "How dare you come here, you shameless bastard, get out. Forgive? Don't even think about it. Tomorrow is divorcing you." Hearing the word divorce, Marcus reacted strongly, practically scrambling to grab my pant leg. "Honey, no, please don't divorce me. I was truly under a spell to do such a stupid thing. I'll never do it again, please just give me another chance. While pleading pitifully, he even started slapping himself hard across the face. His cheeks were almost swollen, but he didn't stop. After what happened, his promotion opportunities were gone, and he would also receive a major demerit. If he lost me, his cash cow, he would truly go broke. That's why he was begging me so humbly and demeaning, to gain my sympathy. And I was very understanding. As long as you publicly state online that you were seduced, I'll let you off the hook this time. Marcus, that idiot, actually believed it. His eyes wide with surprise and joy, he asked repeatedly, "Really? Honey, are you serious?" My parents, unaware of what I was really up to, were furious at these words. "Grace, do you know what you're saying?" I feigned weakness. After all, Lily is still young. I can't let her grow up without a father, can I? As I said that, I clearly caught a flicker of confidence on Marcus's face. It was as if he had assumed I would endure silently for our child's sake. What a pity! This sister was playing the long game. The higher they fly, the harder they'll fall, right? Marcus did as I said. He posted a tearful apology video online. He clearly stated that Chloe was vain and materialistic, seduced him for money, and destroyed his family. Suddenly, all the blame shifted to Chloe. Chloe became publicly shamed online. But she was not one to back down. She immediately publicly exposed their explicit chat logs, and even tagged Marcus's Twitter burner account, putting on a public spat. "Everyone, look for yourselves." He posted disdainful remarks about his wife on his burner account more than once. Is this what a husband should say shortly after his wife gave birth? His tweet complaining about my weight that day had already been fiercely criticized by many netizens. Now that Chloe revealed that account was his Twitter burner account, it immediately caused a sensation online. Holy crap! I saw that tweet a while ago, and it infuriated me. I blasted him too. It was him? What a monster! Many netizens championed my cause. And I wasn't idle either. Overnight, I had someone customize a banner and hang it outside his office building. The next morning, the banner reading, "I never called you small, so how dare you complain about my weight. Fat can be lost, but can small be changed," went viral online. It was obvious to everyone who those words on the banner were addressed to. Netizens exclaimed that my actions were absolutely awesome. But for me, this was far from enough. I wanted him to regret ever being born. My parents advised me to divorce him quickly while the online buzz was high, to prevent complications from arising. With someone who had no morals, no boundaries like him, who knew what that mother and son might do. If they acted recklessly, the consequences would be unimaginable. I waved my hand and smiled mysteriously at my parents. No rush. Divorcing now would be letting him off easy. Even if one party's infidelity led to divorce, it doesn't affect the division of marital property. I wasn't about to split the money I worked so hard for with him. Not only would I not give him any, I'd get back everything he'd given away. The next day, I met with a lawyer, asking them to sue those girls and demand back the money and gifts Marcus had given them. That was our marital property, I had every right. As soon as they heard I was going to sue them, one by one, without even needing to be sued, they obediently returned the money. This part of the plan went surprisingly smoothly. As for Marcus and his Eleanor, I had plenty of ways to deal with them. Our marital home was bought for me by my parents before marriage, and I had the right to dispose of it freely. I contacted a real estate agent to sell it. My only requirement was, as quickly as possible. I didn't want a house that other women had lived in for another second. With a low price, it naturally sold very quickly. In less than a week, the real estate agent brought people to sign the contract and make the payment. That very evening, Marcus and Eleanor were kicked out by the new owner. Naturally, the mother and son were not content to be out on the street late at night, so they came to our house to cause a scene. They pounded on the front door so loudly it echoed, disturbing neighbors from all sides. "Grace, open the front door and explain yourself. We're not even divorced yet, how dare you secretly sell the house? Get out here." After his outburst, more and more curious neighbors gathered. And I grew more excited. I hoped for even more people to help him hit the trending topics again. My parents were scared. They pulled out their phones to call the police. I smiled and stopped them. I have a better idea than calling the police. Under their confused gaze, I sent a few videos to Marcus's cousin, Frank, along with the address of our house. I had met Frank a few times. He was tall and powerfully built, and he worked as a butcher at the farmer's market. No exaggeration, one of his arms was as thick as Marcus's waist. I just wondered if, after his wife slept with his cousin, he would have the fierce determination to settle the score with him. Frank didn't let me down. 15 minutes later, he arrived, carrying a butcher's cleaver and accompanied by over a dozen relatives, looking menacing. Through the front door, we first heard Eleanor ask in surprise, "What are you doing here? Did you hear your cousin was being picked on, and came to stand up for him?" Oh, at critical moments, it really has to be family. Before could finish speaking, Frank kicked her to the ground. "Family, my ass. When your son slept with my wife, did you ever think we were family?" Exploding and hitting someone was shocking enough. But with those words, a huge amount of information was revealed, leaving the onlookers struggling to process it. Through the front door, my parents simultaneously wore disgusted expressions, as if they had eaten a fly. I patted my parents' arms and smiled faintly. It's all over now. At the time, when I saw Brenda's name on the list, I was equally stunned. But after learning so much about this scumbag, whatever he did was no longer surprising to me. The onlookers had never heard of such a thing before, and they began to discuss it, talking over each other. "Oh my God, did I hear that right? He actually hooked up with his own cousin's wife? This man is utterly disgusting. I used to think the Jiang family found a good son-in-law, but you never really know a person's heart. Appalling values, oh my God. Poor, her postpartum period isn't even over, and her husband has done so many disgusting things. How will she ever live her life?" Eleanor had no idea about Marcus and Brenda's messy affair. She slumped on the ground, gasping for breath, cursing. "What nonsense are you talking? My son is not that kind of person." Eleanor insisted on asking for trouble. To truly convince her, Frank threw his phone at her face. "Open your damned eyes and take a good look. If it's not your son, then who is it?" Eleanor picked up the phone, gazing intently at the screen. As the video played, the expression on her face completely froze. Marcus. She probably never dreamed her son would do something like this with his own cousin-in-law. Her eyes wide with horror, she couldn't utter a complete sentence for a long time. Marcus, that idiot, still stubbornly insisted. "She seduced me first." As his words fell, Frank's heavy fist slammed hard into Marcus's face. Immediately after, he kicked Marcus to the ground and rained down punches and kicks. The relatives who came along didn't stand idle either. The whole family joined in, aiming their kicks at Marcus's most sensitive areas. His blood-curdling screams left no doubt about the pain he was enduring. I had been keeping track of the time in the room, and when I judged it was long enough, I opened the door to intervene. "Frank, stop. If you kill him, you'll pay the price. He's not worth it." The relatives and curious neighbors who were watching the spectacle began to pull him away. The farce finally ended there. Frank left with the others, and Eleanor and Marcus stumbled away. After expressing their sympathy to me, the neighbors also went back to their homes. The video of Marcus being brutally beaten by Frank quickly appeared online, spreading like wildfire and once again causing a massive sensation online. Holy cow, he wouldn't even spare his own cousin-in-law. He's worse than an animal. Help! Grace, what are you waiting for if not to divorce him? I smiled when I saw the netizens' piercing question. Compared to divorce, I much preferred widowhood. There was no way around it, we had too much shared property. Even if he got a single cent, it would sting. Hearing that Marcus was hospitalized, I symbolically brought a few things to visit him. As soon as I entered, Eleanor started wailing hysterically and tried to hit me. "R is completely ruined. Are you happy now?" I feigned surprise. "He was always a loser, didn't you know that? Otherwise, why would you have resorted to artificial insemination?" I had kept this secret for Marcus very carefully, and Eleanor had no idea. Even he himself might have forgotten it through repeated self-deception. Now, with me suddenly bringing it up, His body, curled up on the hospital bed, visibly trembled. I knew then that my purpose in coming had been achieved. Sure enough, a few days later, news came from the hospital that Marcus was suffering from depression. Some more days passed, and a news report emerged about a man who fell to his death from the hospital's top floor. His mother, attempting to pull him back, also accidentally fell, and both lost their lives. Upon learning that it was the mother and son who had died, netizens applauded, exclaiming that justice was served. 1 year later, I successfully lost weight, becoming even a few pounds lighter than before my pregnancy. My precious daughter was now 1 year and 2 months old, pink-cheeked, adorable, and clingy. I changed her name, giving her my surname, and named her Luna. The original meaning of Luo describes the hardness of stone, representing an unyielding character. I hoped my daughter, even growing up in a single-parent home, would be strong, independent, and brave. This story has concluded. Thank you for reading. Faced with such a situation, would you choose forgiveness or retaliation? Let me know your answer in the comments. Backhand index pointing down. Subscribe to the channel for our next installment.